Hi everyone, I'm Harini Sivakumar, founder and CEO of the brand Earth Rhythm.
Hey listeners, I am Nandini Kunde. I edit some of the episodes of the Founder Thesis podcast, and I'm also the voice artist for the episode introductions. I wanted to put in a personal note for introducing this episode featuring Harini Sivakumar, the founder of Earth Rhythm. This episode literally goes like the plot of a well made Hollywood movie, which starts with a stay at home mom who accidentally became an entrepreneur and ended up building a 100 crore business. This episode was especially inspiring to me because I am also a mom and can totally relate with the challenges Harini faced while scaling up Earth Rhythm. This episode is a must listen. It's proof that not all founders need to have an IIT IIM background, and all you need to scale up is grit and determination. Stay tuned and subscribe to the Founder Thesis podcast on any audio streaming platform to get inspired by founders reshaping the future of business in India.
I'd like to call myself an accidental entrepreneur. Started my career as a banker. I'm from Chennai, southern part of India, born, brought up Chennai. When I reached Delhi, I think there were two things that I did right. One was obviously, like I said, because of the language barrier, I had no friends practically. So socializing and hanging out was a little far fetched, at least in the initial, few couple of months that I landed in Delhi. So, and winter, Delhi has these extreme weather climates, as compared to, Chennai, where we have three types of weather, hot, hotter, and hottest. Delhi has, hotter and coldest and all of that. So it was difficult for me to, probably figure out a lot of things for my son because of his special needs. He had a lot of issues. He had eczema, which started getting, aggravated in the cold winters in Delhi. And
The elder
you
one
know how
had eczema.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And you know how we Indian moms are, right? We like to do grandma's secret. We like to do things at home. Ghee lagao, malai lagao. We like to do everything, from our kitchen. And I started, using castle soaps back then on my son, which were pure olive oil soaps, like 100% olive oil soaps. And these
Okay.
soaps were not available in India at that point of time. I would typically, wait for someone who's traveling from US, and I used to buy my 1 year stock from them and keep it with me and use it every month, one soap for my son. And it used to be like, there was a point in my life when my Facebook status was, anyone traveling from US, please feed me. Right? So it became like a regular norm for me. And after a point, I realized, why am I even, hanging around every single person to help me get it? And it was just at a random thought I decided. I just typed on Google how to make castle soaps, right? And I landed
How do you
into a
spell
YouTube
it?
video.
Caston? Casten.
Castle, castle.
Castle. Okay. Castle soaps.
Yeah.
This is like a genre of soaps.
Yes, it's like a pure olive oil soap. It doesn't lather much or anything. It has a high oil content, which means that anyone who has extreme dry skin or eczema, it washes off at the same time very moisturizing, right? So you don't get these kind of castor soaps in India. Even today, it's quite difficult to find unless and until you go to a specialty store or a or an uptown market where you will find these kind of products. So, I landed up into a YouTube video which was actually teaching you how to make castle soaps at home. And I saw that video and it was like, oh my God, it's so simple. It's better. It's easier than making Rajma chawal. So I decided, okay, why not I just, attempt making castle soap at home? And I figured out what are the ingredients needed. And I was trying to, go on Google and hunt, where can I get this ingredient? Where can I source it from? And I got a couple of ingredients. And I decided to make my first batch, which was the biggest disaster. I had no clue what was happening. It turned out like the failed Mysore Pak that you tried for the first time, which was brick hard. And it was like, passar, like, somebody could be hurt with it. So, and then after a couple of more times of trying to make the castor soap, I managed to make something which looked like a soap. And my trial and error into, making these soaps, obviously the guinea pigs are me and my son. We were using these soaps to figure out whether it's actually matching the one that I use from the US or not. And that's how my journey into, getting into doing something on my own started. And another, I think, stark reason for me to, start figuring out to, probably keep myself busy was also, my mom passed away in 2015. And that was a huge turning point because, generally girls are very close to their parents and specifically mom, right? For me, especially because I had a child with disability, she was a huge support system for me in my journey. And when she actually passed away, it was like a big hollow in the life where I wasn't able to relate to the fact that how do I even move on right now? And to keep myself busy, to, probably keep your mind, to divert yourself, you need to get into something, like do something to, keep yourself busy. And that's how, I mean, these are a couple of reasons, which pushed me to, start exploring, to do something on my own. And that's how the journey of, soap making started. And the interest was so intense that once I started making capsule soaps, I think I made batch number one, batch number two, batch number three. And I think about 2, 3 months time, I started experimenting different types of soap, like say shea butter soap, cocoa butter soap, many different types of soaps that I started making. And these are all traditionally cold processed soaps, which does not require any fire or machinery or anything required. So you can simply make it like, even if a lot of, Purana Zamana, if you go and see, a lot of people, used to make their own washing soaps at home, right? It was very simple. This process was very similar. So it was, soponification using, sodium hydroxide and, and a bunch of, oils, a combination of oils, and boom, there's a soap that cleans.
Okay.
And I started
What
making a
is
couple of,
sodium hydroxide? Like, is it a liquid or is it a gas?
It comes in flakes. Basically, it's a chemical compound. It comes in flakes. When you put water on it, it turns really hot, like acid. Like it can actually burn your skin. That hot it becomes. You mix oil with it at a certain proportion, and when oil and this particular sodium hydroxide solution come together, there is a process that happens called soponification. And when you let it sit overnight in a pan or in a mold, it turns into a hard bar of soap. So that's how a soap is created, right? So a washing soap will have more sodium hydroxide and less oils, but a bathing soap will have more oils and less sodium hydroxide. The idea is to keep it more moisturizing and more cleansing and all of those abilities. So within like 3, 4 months, I, gathered, I started making a lot of soaps, and, my room was filled with at least 100 soaps. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with these? I mean, 100 soaps? At least if it was something eatable, I would just, I finish it somehow. But soap is something that you can't even finish it the minute you want. And I started distributing these to friends and family, right? Like it was also, an attempt to make friends in the new place that I was in Delhi. So I used to carry these soaps to my son's school when I used to pick him up. I used to give it to, his classmates' parents saying that, hey, I made these. Why don't they try and give me feedback? And I started sharing it. This was around the time, and a couple of months later, of doing this again and again and again, a lot of these people who, actually started using my products used to come back to me saying, Harini, do you have more of those shea butter soaps? I want to buy them. This time, please take money. I'm willing to pay you. Can I get 3 of them? I want to gift it to my sister. I want to gift it to my brother. I want this. I want that. And that became a regular routine for me where people started asking me for something that I actually distributed free of cost. And I started enjoying it because I actually had an opportunity to make what I like. And that's how, my journey, my baby steps into, starting something on my own came into existence. This was around the time of 2015, right? 2016 came. I think this phase was more of a learning phase for me. Like I said, I come from a commerce background, right? I studied to be a banker. So I decided to, spend some money and do some couple of courses to understand how skincare formulation works. Because there's a lot of chemistry involved while manufacturing skincare. And with economics, commerce, credit, debit, sitting on the brain, understanding how soponification work and how stability works are all, different, completely different ballgame altogether. So I wanted to go through that phase. So 2016, I think I almost the entire year while I was, doing all of these home-based stuff and, making a little bit of money here and there. But the whole of 2016, I spent that time studying, trying to understand, unlearn my, the economics commerce that was there in the brain, relearn organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, understand how formulation works. That was also more, towards the fact that, people were actually buying my product, they were paying me buying. And I had some kind of, I had to have some kind of responsibility in terms of being confident of what I am giving them to use on their skin. It's more of a responsibility that I need to take for the product that I create, right? I'm no expert. I was just a kitchen expert trying to make something and, it just happened on its own. So that, so 2016 was more of a phase of a study phase. 2017.
Did you like join online course or something, or like
Yeah, I mean, I did a couple of courses. One I did with Formula Botanica, which is a UK based, an organization that helps people, hobby people to learn skills more formally. Something like, Udemy, which is there in India right now. And then I also did another course with Institute of Personal Care Sciences, which was a much more detailed program where you get the postgraduate diploma in cosmetic science, which enables you to call yourself a cosmetic chemist upon completion of the course. And I did that course. And then once that was done, I think 2017, I decided to, create my own small little catalog of products. I had soaps, I had lip balms, I had lotions, some interesting products like say creams and stuff like that. And I created 7, 10 products and I started
this
selling
was
it.
all being made in your apartment only?
Yes, I had converted one room in my apartment as my studio. And I used to be the maker, packer, dishwasher, boy. I've gone through that phase where a customer used to call me and shout at me saying that it's been since I ordered and I have not received my order. And I would say, I let the manager know and I let the kid go. It's me, right? And gone through that phase of, everything me and then acting as if, there were multiple people around me, trying to assist me. So 2017, I decided to, leverage on social media channels. I think for, small brands,
did you
B2C brands.
branding it as Earth Rhythm?
No.
Okay.
Back then it was called Soapworks India.
Okay.
Why Soapworks? Don't even ask me because I just made soaps back then and I named it Soapworks India.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I
And
think
you had like a printed packaging on it which said Soapworks and all. Like how did you package it?
So, like I said, my initial investment when I started Soapworks was 5,000 rupees. And this 5,000 rupees, I actually, used my husband's credit card, stole that 5,000 rupees, but not swiped it without his knowledge, and make money and then repay it by the end of the month to the card account so that he never gets to know that I used 5,000 on his card. So my initial investment was exactly 5,000 if I have to be blatantly honest with you. And in the initial days, like you asked me, these labeling, all of that, right? Everything in-house. I bought a printer and I bought label sheets. There was this website called onlinelabels.com in US. And I used to buy labels whenever my friends were traveling. I used to get labels in bulk from them. And they used to have templates on their website for the labels that they sell. So I used to design my own labels and I used to print my own labels and everything was in-house. Nothing. And there is a reason to it also, right? The reason is that in India, if you have to start, looking at outsourcing, hobby is not very huge in India, like, the Western countries, but hobby is like a huge thing. Gardening, fishing, like all these things are like very huge. Whereas in India, hobby is still very underrated even today. You do have, specialty hobby stores here, but it's not really something which everybody has the time and luxury to, spend their time on. So I decided to buy these labels, design it myself. And if I have to go out and get it done, there are MOQs involved. I need to print 5,000 labels.
MOQ means minimum order quantity.
Minimum order quantity, right? And each vendor will tell me that, madam, at least 1,000 label print kara do. Kam se kam 1,000 kara do. While I was selling only five or 3 soaps a day, why will I print 1,000 labels, right? So it did make sense to me. So, and I didn't want to block any of my money in any of the inventory because I had no goal at that point of time, whether I was actually building a business or not. I was just nurturing my hobby, I would say, or my passion project. And then, I started doing everything, even photography. I still remember I bought these white background, these textured, photography sheets that you get. And then I used to place a product on the top and I used to click with my car and then upload it. And I've done everything, right? Right from, like I said, it literally, I've done everything in the company, right? From customer service to digital marketing to brand marketing to, right from, delivery boy. I've done it. And I still remember there was this time where one lady, she had ordered a soap and she was in Noida and I live in Gurgaon. And I drove down. She was very angry with me because she had ordered soaps to gift it to someone. And I had delayed it because, these cold process soaps actually have a process called curing, which is like it needs to stay on the shelf for 3 weeks to get the maximum benefit out of the soap. And she wanted it so urgently. And I had to break that curing period and run to her and give it. And the cost of the soaps were around 500, 600. And I drove like some 50, 60 kilometers and up and down. It was 100 kilometers. And I delivered that soap for like $500. And she opened the door and she was like, can you please tell your company that this is the easiest service that I've had? I was standing there, like, can you please share your owner's number? I said, I am the owner. So she was like, oh my God, you're the owner. I'm like, yeah, I'm the owner. I'm so sorry about this. So, the space of, how, small businesses, homegrown entrepreneurs actually go through everything first-hand experience of, getting the feel of, standing in front of a customer, getting screamed at, getting appreciated, getting feedback. Everything happens firsthand, right? And this was around 2017, right? I was, for most D2C brands, I think the digital channels or the social media channels are the first way how they will get the experience of selling or building a brand. That's simply because the entry barriers are very low, right? There's no cost requirement. There's no investment at all practically. And I used to sell on, Facebook pages, Instagram, Google. I mean, I leveraged on all these channels, right? That I could actually sell my product, and people used to place orders on WhatsApp. And then after
how did you say that? Like, did you have a e-commerce site or something? Or...
No, you create groups. So when people, so and at that point of time, Google groups, these groups are very popular. So create.
Today that is replaced by WhatsApp groups, but there was a time when it was Yahoo groups, Google groups.
Yes. So I started utilizing all these channels to sell the products. And then over a point of time, even that started getting a little difficult and cluttered because, in WhatsApp, what happens is you lose track of, the conversations and suddenly somebody is adding, deleting. Yeah, it's not a CRM. You just can't really manage everything after a point. And that's when I was like, I need a website now. And obviously, like I said, low cost investment, I didn't have money. So I just decided to go to GoDaddy and buy a domain. And I built the entire website myself. Like it was a WordPress store. You won't believe. You understand WordPress requires some amount of technicality, right? I still remember going to Google, YouTube, and figuring out how to write a code. How to write a code to actually get this text in this place, right? So literally, the journey of building my own website, and my website has crashed like some 4 or 5 times. And those nights when the website crashed and that PHP language is something above my head, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. My website is not working. Been through all that phase in 2017 and 2018.
And your website was soapworks.com or something like that.
Yes, it was called soapworks.com, correct. Soapworksindia.com. And that in 2018 came, during this time, I actually started building my network very much. When established, I would say, like people knew Soap Wali Auntie is Harini. So
what sales were you doing by 2018? Like monthly sales?
Not much, probably. I would generate about 1 lakh or 2 only per month, right?
That was the sales for I was doing. Like for doing something.
For a homegrown entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So I started, stepping out a little bit of my house. Like, I started, these during this Diwali, Christmas, New Year, you have these menars everywhere in these societies in Gurgaon. I used to put up a stall there. I used to pay money and put up a stall, and I used to take stock worth 1 lakh. And my target used to be to send out the 1 lakh stock and come back. That's it. So this is how I started, building my network. And that's why in every society, they know Sopali Auntie is So I started selling, and I started, I started seeing the process of how a business is starting to, build right in front of my eyes. And this was the time, I think, end of 2018, my dad was casually visiting me in Gurgaon. And my dad was actually he was on his way to Kailash Mansarovar. And on his way back, actually, he halted in Gurgaon, not while going. On the way back, he halted in Gurgaon. And he was staying with me for a couple of months. He wanted to stay for 2-3 months and then head back to Chennai. So while he was staying, one fine day, he was like, Harini, you're stuck inside this room, morning to evening. You have 2 kids who are screaming for your attention outside. And I have no clue what you're doing inside this room. Is it even worth it? You're like spending your day, night, everything inside this room. You're sitting on the floor. You don't even have a table and chair. You're sitting on the floor, and evening you're telling me my back is aching, my leg is aching. And what are you even doing here? I just told him, don't ask me any questions. I have too many things to do. If at all you want to do something, just help me. He's like, what can I do to help you? I gave him my laptop and I told him, become my customer service executive. There are so many emails in this email ID because I used to have a customer service mail called soapworksindia@gmail.com. I told him there are so many emails over here. Start responding. If you have doubts, ask me. So technically, my first employee was my dad, who was a customer service executive. So he started responding to all the mails saying that, reply to them, call and speak to them and ask them and all of that. So he was being busy, right? He's also retired and he was also feeling very happy to, keep helping me in doing something. After 2-3 months, my dad was like, Harini, you know what? You're actually taking customers' money and you're keeping it with you for 2 months. And then you're sending the product to the customer. I think this is really bad because one, you can't keep customers' money with you like that without, knowing when you're going to dispatch the product. And second thing, your entire business of, taking money into your personal account. Although I come from a commerce background, my economics are so weak that, I was actually taking all money into my savings account and I didn't even know that was not even allowed. Right? So he was like, Harini, what are you even doing? I mean, if you're really serious about this, let's make a company. Like a sole proprietor company where you create an account and you get all the money into only your company account. It should not go to your personal account. And he built some structure around what I was doing, right? He created a small sole proprietor company called Soapworks India. And then he opened an account for me. We got a GST number for that. And we started doing, a little bit of business setting up over there. And then 2-3 months down the line, while he was leaving, he was like, Harini, you know what? I have a brilliant idea. When I spoke to all your customers, right? When I called them and without your knowledge, I told your customer, I'm sorry for keeping the money for so long. Please cancel the order. When the product is ready, we will call you back and you can place the order again and buy it. And surprisingly, most of your customers refused to take back money. And they said, we know that Harini takes 2 months. It's okay, let the money be there. Let her send it afterwards, is what they told me. Which means you've built credibility, you've built trust, and they like your product. And this is something we should build on, is what he thought. And while we were discussing this, he was like, Harini, why don't we get out and, probably do something bigger? I mean, I'm also free right now. Let's start something on our own. If we win, we win. And if we lose, we have nothing to worry about, right? We're not dependent on this money to actually, sustain our lives or anything. Why are we bothered? Let's give it a shot. My first concern was, how do I get out of the house? Because I have a son who is non-verbal. My older one cannot speak. So he's always been in the protected environment around me, sitting with me. While I make soaps, he used to sit with me and cut the soaps and all of that. So I've had him right next to me while I was working also. And now suddenly thinking of getting out of my comfort zone, which is my house, and moving into a space where I had to actually leave my kids back home and now getting into that job kind of a feeling where you're going to be out of the house for a couple of hours was very, very difficult for me. I've gone through that phase of, people calling me suddenly and saying, Harini, why are you standing in the balcony? Is anybody there at home? And I used to run like literally like a mad person and just to ensure that he is not standing in the balcony, right? So typical, housewife scenarios of, housewife transitioning into, a work professional who's trying to, come out of the house and, figuring out how to make everything work, both house and, work. So 2019, this was the time, end of 2018 and 19. So 2019, we took up a small space outside house. So the first thing that I told, me and my dad decided was we should not be far away from home because this is the first time we're stepping out. Let's take the building right next to our apartment. So we took the literal next up, there was a small, marketplace right next to my apartment. And there are a lot of
like a shopping complex.
Correct, exactly, like a shopping complex. So I took a small 800 square feet, office space there. And in that 800 square feet, 400 square feet I had allocated for manufacturing and another 400 square feet for, keeping the laptop and everything and working and all of that. So both of us together, we started and after when we set up everything, I still remember the day when the rent was about 18,000 or 19,000. I went and told my dad, Daddy, I doubt if I'll be able to pay this rent of 18,000 month on month. My dad was like, if you ask me today, no, you can't afford it. But if you ask me, can you in future? I think you have great potential. You'll be able to do it. I mean, like I told you, let's give it a shot, right? It's okay. So with that confidence, I was like, chalo, let's jump into this. So started that place. And when we started that place, I think the first thing that we both realized was we both can't be doing everything. We need one more person to help us, right? And that's when, obviously, everything, even the rent was something which we were actually trying to figure out how we're going to pay. And obviously, salary was the last thing that we wanted to, incur in terms of how are we going to pay someone, right? So I had a brilliant idea. So I went to the security guard, in the condo where I live in. And I told the security guard that, भैया मुझे एक लड़की चाहिए काम के लिए. So he was like, किस काम के लिए दीदी? I said, based on a date later. So the next day, my calling bell started ringing and there were girls coming one after the other saying, Didi, kya kaam hai? Jhadu, pocha, bartan, aapko kya kaam hai? Kya kaam hai? Kya kaam hai? Out of all these girls, Akshay, I spotted one girl. One girl. She was just 22, around 21, 22. She was wearing a sari. She was from this village called Sundarban. She had covered her head with a sari. You know how she's like raw clay, fresh from Sundarban. She had just landed and she was looking for odds and ends job, like, a maid's job in the condo where I was living in. And she was like, Didi. And I looked at her. I asked her, are you educated? Padhe likhe ho tum? She was like, मैं graduate हूँ Didi. I was shocked. She was a graduate and she was looking for jado pocha person. I asked her, तुमको English पढ़ने को आता है? My Hindi is also bad. You see how I speak. वो इंग्लिश पढ़ने को आता है? She was like, हाँ दीदी, I can इंग्लिश पढ़ लेता हूँ पर बात नहीं कर पाएंगे. I said, you're select. I gave her a salary of 5,000 rupees, which otherwise she would have earned some maid as well in the condo where I lived in. So I told her, I'll give you the same 5,000. So you come to the building next. And from tomorrow, so when she came the next day, the first test for her was I gave her a bunch of invoices that my website generates, right? So I gave her and I told her, I'll give you 1 hour's time. Just go through these invoices. Then you tell me what you understood from it. And after 1 hour, she came and she told me that दीदी कोई बिल जैसे लग रहा है, कोई साबुन ऑर्डर किया है, कोई क्रीम ऑर्डर किया है, ऐसे लगता है कि आपने कुछ माल भेज रही हो यहाँ. So she had an idea as to what was happening around her, right? I was happy that she's understanding what's happening around. So then, I started training her into manufacturing, into operations, packing, dispatch, how we actually plan the flow from the website, what order is coming, how do you pick, pack, and keep it ready for dispatch and all of that. Within 1-2 months, you won't believe, Akshay, she came back to my dad and said, Uncle, हम ना एक process लेके आना है, Uncle. ये COD orders ना सिर्फ Friday को करते हैं. Monday to Thursday हम सिर्फ prepaid orders करते हैं. मतलब she started understanding how do we build process to simplify our work and become more efficient, right? See, business is one side, but actually seeing someone evolve right in front of you is another thing, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you more happiness when you see people evolve right in front of you. And Momita was one such girl for us, right? Today, Momita is still a part of Earth Rhythm. And she in the factory where we've built, she handles a team of 25 girls. She came at a salary of 5,000 rupees. Today, she earns 10x of what she was getting. And had she been a maid, had she not taken up this opportunity that day that knocked at her door, she would have still been in the same place, doing the same job and getting the same 5,000 next 5 years, right? So I think this was, I don't know what to call it. Like, we met at the right time, both of us. And today, if you see Momita, she, the way she has evolved, even as a person, a personality, the jeans, the t-shirt. And I still have a picture of her first sari class. And I see here, कैसे आए थे और बदल गए. So, her transition has been really, I could see in front of my eyes. And that's how she was the first employee. And after her, I recruited a lot more girls from my condo. In fact, I'm the hitter in my condo because every single woman in my condo thinks that I poached them. And so I used to really, so every security guard knew that अगर ये लड़की पढ़ी लिखी है तो ये मैडम के पास काम मिल जाएगा. So, all the girls who were slightly 12 pass or they were, graduate, they would come to me and they said, "दीदी मुझे घर का काम नहीं करना है, के बाद कोई काम होगा." I used to give them job. I used to tell them, चलो packing कर लो. So, तो ये कर लो, label लगा दो, ये करो, वो करो. So, I used to teach them. So, we became a team of around 8-10 girls, plus me and my dad, working in that place. And that's, and that's when we stepped out and we started a company. We transitioned from Soapworks India to Earth Rhythm. And the reason why he did this was, so while we came out and we, created a company called Earth Rhythm, we were very clear I wanted to own the manufacturing. That because this entire business was a passion-driven business. It was a passion project that got converted into business. And my core forte and my interest lies in the product, in the formulation, into how you create this product. That gave me joy. Not selling the product and seeing those figures growing, doubling, while that became an agenda over a period of time when we built the business. But the initial days was only about for me creating the product and seeing, suddenly 3, 4 ingredients going together and boom, there was a cream, there was a lotion, there was a soap and everything coming out of my kitchen. So I think I wanted to own the manufacturing. So we applied for manufacturing license and we had a small store.
When were you like 8-10? You said you had 8-10 girls working with you. When was this?
This was around mid 2019, around June, July.
And what was your monthly sales then by the time you had this team of 10?
We were doing around 5 to 10 lakhs a month, approximately.
Amazing.
A month.
So you
right?
multiplied it by 5x in a year's time.
Yes. And the story is very interesting after that, I can tell you. Yeah. So, and then what happened? We thought that, okay, the space is getting a little cramped. Let's until that time, I was functioning under
sales growth happened organically, or did you like spend on Google ads?
Or... Zero, wow. Literally zero.
Okay, because pure word of mouth.
We had no money. Pure word of mouth, I'm sending it. I used to keep publishing on, Instagram. I mean, early on, we started using Instagram, Facebook, all of these things. Keep on posting everywhere. That's the only way we were promoting. Spent zero money in actually bringing revenues to, people to website. And then we decided, let's apply for manufacturing license and we need to move to a little bigger space. Until that time, I was functioning with the MSME registration, right? So for small homegrown ventures, you can register under the MSME and still, if you're, say, you're probably stitching something and sending, or probably you're a baker, you still can have an MSME and you can function. So technically, I was under MSME for until that time, and MSME has a threshold. I think when your turnover turns, I think some 3 lakhs or 30 lakhs, I don't remember exactly. There's a threshold for it. And once you reach that threshold, you need to come out of MSME. You can't claim the benefits of MSME. So we applied for manufacturing license and we moved slightly little far away from that place. We took one step at a time. We thought, let's go a little more far away and take one more space. Now from this 800, we went to like 1,500 square feet. We took double the space because that's the minimum requirement for getting the manufacturing license. So we took 1,500 square feet space. And we've, clearly, had a plan in terms of how we will manufacture there and sell. And this was around the early 2020 time. And that's when, I was launching the brand into the market, right? And my dad was furious with me. And he was like, Harini, why are you going on bringing products? Tell me one thing. You made a soap. Why can't you sell the soap alone? Why are you creating lip balm? Why are you creating cream? I said, one, I know how to make them. So I want to keep them in my catalog. As simple as that. Number two, people who come to buy a soap will want a shampoo. People who come to buy a cream will want hair oil. So you never know, it's cross-selling. So you need to have more products on your table for people to actually at least spend time there looking at it, right? So, and hence what happened was I had a fixed set of products, and while I was, figuring out Earth Rhythm name and building the brand and all of that.
Tell me about the
by
name.
This time, 2020.
What was behind the name?
Yes, I'm coming to that. So while, setting up this, this brand name and all of that, the Earth Rhythm idea came simply because I think over the number of years from 2015 to 19, when I survived as this homegrown entrepreneur, there were some clear reasons why these people, these customers would come and buy product from Soapworks, right? There were very, very clear reasons. One was personalization. Consumers really liked the fact that they could actually talk to someone and they had something specially curated. When they speak to me and they say, Harini, I have this issue. And when I tell them, Acha, do you have this problem? Do you have that problem? Do you want this? Do you want that? That really helps them connect with the product and with the brand. And that really helped them. The personalization was one. Number two, today's millennials, even the Gen Z, they're very, very, conscious about their carbon footprint, right? We no longer want to litter the space where we're living in. We want to reduce. We want to recycle. We're moving into that zone. And a lot of people in Delhi NCR would come, looking for me because they would come with their reused bottles or they would come with jars and they would say, can you fill it and give it to me? I don't want to buy one more. I don't want to generate waste. So I saw sustainability and the constant feedback to me was, Harini, your products are amazing. But why would you use a plastic bottle for this? So these kind of feedback started coming to me and I started figuring out, okay, sustainability is something where consumers are really wanting to stay away from large brands because they felt that they were not heard by huge MNCs because who actually calls the customer service behind your shampoo bottle and takes the pain of, calling up and giving a feedback because they know that it's not even going to go up the management, right?
Yeah.
So with smaller brands, they had that feeling that, she is going to hear me. She is the person and she's going to hear me. And that feeling actually made them come back to me and give me feedback and, figure out. And if I was willing to make that change, they were willing to stay with me. That was another reason. And the third one was consumers were wanting products that get accepted. People are tired. So if they wanted a regular product, the market had, the regular mass market products, right? Like say your Nivea creams are there, your Lux soaps are there. Why would they come to something like Soapworks India? What are they looking for? They're obviously not looking for anything which is available already in the market. So they want something which they come in with a hope that this is going to work for me. The market ones are not working, shayad ye kaam karega. So these are the three things that I clearly, laid down in my head. These are the reasons why consumers were actually coming to Soapworks. So with these three things in mind, I built, I came up with this name Earth Rhythm. The idea was to build, the brand around sustainability. We're 100, I would say we're heavily focused on sustainability. I can't call myself 100% sustainable. That would be a big fat lie. You never can claim 100%, but we're largely sustainable in terms of, how our supply chain is, how we've actually managed to keep EcoCert on board, to manage our waste and all of that. So a lot of these things we built over a period of time. But initially when I started, I was clear that the brand has to, resonate sustainability to consumers. The second one being inclusivity. Now, inclusivity, the reason why I included it was, I think I, being a mom to a child with disability, I felt that in India, even today, inclusivity is not something which is common. You people really do differentiate you, right? I still remember being judged for having people like Fomita working with me. I had some customers who actually doubted the ability or the efficacy of my product because Fomita made it, right? So these are things that I have come out, I've seen this throughout my journey. And I felt that, inclusivity has to be a part of it. While this is not going to bring revenues to the brand or anything of that sort, but I find this is a very strong message which people can actually relate to through the brand story, right? So inclusivity was one. The third one was clinical effectiveness. Now, this came into the picture because, like I said, people were looking for problem solving products. And while looking for problem solving, for us, the biggest advantage was today, if you've seen all the B2C brands, especially in the BPC category, which are existing, only a handful of them actually own manufacturing, right? You will probably count them in your fingers. There are very, very few brands that can own manufacturing. And when you own manufacturing, you have the ability to actually go into in-depth in R&D. And you can actually do clinical trials. You can do in vivo analysis, in vitro analysis. You can do a lot more with your product and give consumers that comfort whether this product is going to be effective, whether this product is going to work for you or not, even before investing your money into that product. Right. So that was the third pillar that we wanted to build around Earth Rhythm. So with these three, I wanted to bring Earth Rhythm into the picture. I had a huge fight with my dad because my dad is a Purana Zamana person and he was sentimental about this name Soapworks.
Yeah.
वहां से यहाँ तक आए because it was Soapworks. अब तुम नाम चेंज करोगे तो अगर ये नाम हमको लकी नहीं है तो क्या करेंगे? So I said, I don't know about luck and all because I think Soapworks, if I sell a cream, a body lotion in the name of Soapworks, people come and ask me, is this a soap or a lotion? Right? There's a misconception. So I wanted to break that. And hence if the earlier is better to change the name rather than doing it much later in your mind, right? So hence I changed the name to Earth Rhythm and we rebranded it. And the first product that came from Earth Rhythm was shampoo bars. Now, then we came with shampoo bars. Now, when the shampoo bar is over, you're not dumping anything in the dustbin in terms of plastic waste, right? Now, our thesis to consumers was that we told consumers a simple logic that we're not asking you too much. We're asking you to just try and replace one product in your entire lifestyle, which is a shampoo bottle to a bar form. Now, imagine if you as one consumer, if you can stop yourself from dumping 12 shampoo bottles a year into the dustbin, just shampoo bottles alone, and if I can manage to convince 5% of India's population, 3% of India's population to move from shampoo bottles to bar format, imagine the amount of reduction in the landfills we will have by just replacing one product in your routine, which is a shampoo bottle. Right? Because it is an essential product. Now, this got a lot of people inquisitive and they were willing to try shampoo bar first. अगर मुझे पसंद आया, अगर मुझे मेरे Dove जैसे बाल दिखा, then I will continue using this. So my efforts was to make it exactly look and feel like, it has to be like Head and Shoulder. It has to be like Resume. It has to be like Dove. It has to give that feel to consumers, right? That was my only agenda. And I was pushing consumers to try the product, and people loved it. And I said,
how were you talking to consumers? Were you like uploading videos on Instagram, or was it during those Mela events and such things?
No, lives, Instagram lives. So I used to go live.
Okay.
So actually, a lot of customers, Akshay, at Earth Rhythm, they have seen Harini from Soapworks India days, where I used to be the face of the brand, right? So I used to, go on live, tell people, ये क्या product है, कैसे use करते हैं, all these things I have done myself. So even today, we receive mails from customer support saying that, can I speak to Harini before I place my order? Because people have gotten used to these routine of speaking to Harini before I place my order. And then to get one order, I'll speak for 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Today, it's really tough for me to speak for 40 minutes for one order, right? So it's been a journey that way, in terms of how consumers have actually traveled with me. And I think, it happened organically, to be very honest with you. And once shampoo bar became a hit, once people started liking shampoo bars, I brought a lot more products under the same line. So now I call this line the zero waste skincare. Zero waste skincare is bringing products that can actually generate zero waste to the environment. And even the shampoo bar ingredients were biodegradable, which means the gray water that goes into the soil can break down, which means the surfactant use, the emulsifiers use, the preservative use, everything is all biodegradable. So the next set of products that we brought was cleansing balms, which can replace your face wash, and bath bombs, and few other soap bars, and many other things, which are all around the concept of zero waste skincare. And we started doing well. Now, during this time, I think, I had moved on to, I think 2020 June from my WordPress after this several crashes that I had with WordPress again and again and again. Finally, somebody told me, Harini, you should try Shopify, because Shopify में ये crashing का काम ही होता नहीं है. Easy होगा तुम्हारे लिए. Why don't you try Shopify? So I sat day and night again and built my own Shopify store. So these are the ways that I actually cut cost, right? I did not go to an agency.
2020, the management was still just you and your dad. Everyone else was like shop floors.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
And just what about like packaging and stuff like that? Like you were doing like through printing out those labels at home. Once you moved into that bigger space?
There also, mostly it was all I was only printing. I was designing and I was printing myself. But then I found a vendor who was actually slightly expensive, but could make professional labels, say 100, 200, 500 quantity. Slightly expensive, but that was the stage where I was transitioning. I was, trying to figure out vendors. I used to get small. If one product is actually selling very well, then I used to take the risk of, printing 1,000 labels and keeping with me. So on that, it was an experimenting stage at that point of time. But once I built the Shopify, I still remember, I think I launched it on July 16th or July 20th, around second week of July, I launched the Shopify.
What was your monthly sales then in middle of 2020?
I'm coming to that. So very interesting, right? So one change that I did, from moving from WordPress to Shopify in July, I was doing about 10 to 12 lakhs in June. We closed the month at 10 to 12 lakhs. July, with zero spends, we did 35 lakhs. Just one tech upgrade, which was moving from WordPress to Shopify. That's it. Because consumers had that seamless experience. Shopify is much more user-friendly, I mean, that's when I was able to believe that what customer experience means in a tech world, right? Consumers really want to see beautiful pictures. They want all information easily available. The entire journey, the process flow should be seamless. And that made a difference. And I think that was the first success that we had. And both of me and my dad were shocked. Like, ye kya ho gaya? So, and we were very happy. And, and then we were actually moving office after that. Every 6 months, we'll run out of space and we'll take an additional 1,000 square feet. And that's how we were moving with our, There was a point where people used to think, yeah, 6 महीने इनको rent को देंगे ही नहीं, 6 महीने में खाली कर देंगे. Run out of space. So once, we were moving from place to place, and I think 2021. So that was and a pandemic hit in 2020, right? And I think during that time also, I think that was the best phase. And that's when the business was actually
But
growing.
you were
really
able
well.
to keep running, like you didn't have to shut down?
No. So I had a brilliant plan for that. So the minute pandemic hit in March, when the lockdown was announced, I went to the state FD office and I applied for manufacturing permission to manufacture hand sanitizers. So what I did was that was a very brilliant move that I did, and I got the permission. I got the license approved to manufacture hand sanitizers. I knew how to make hand sanitizer. It was not a rocket science. So with that permission, I opened my factory, and I ensured that and I brought a scheme saying that every order. And you remember the initial phase of the pandemic, there was a scarcity for hand sanitizers. So I told customers that with every order, we'll give you 100 ml of free sanitizer, right? So people simply placed order at Earth because they wanted hand sanitizer, right?
Amazing.
So that was a small strategy that we used to, keep the business going and not really dictate and shut it or close it down or anything. And we opened it and we were running throughout the pandemic. 2021 came. We started steadily seeing, growth in our revenues. From there on, there was no looking back. And suddenly there was this big fund from India which reached out to us. They're one of the top 3 funds in India, right? VC funds.
Consumer brand focused.
Yes, consumer brand focused funds. And it's like extremely prestigious to be associated with them, right? They reached out to me and they were like, we want to evaluate your brand. We've been seeing the growth journey. It's tremendous. Can we, engage? I honestly speaking,
You were
at that point
still
of time,
just selling through Shopify. You were not present on
yes.
Amazon or
Amazon we started. We started Amazon by then. Mica we didn't start. Amazon we had started by.
Okay.
Small presence, but Amazon had started.
And what kind of sales? Like from 35 lakhs, where did it go by 21? By the time this fund approached you?
We were doing about 1 crore a month.
Wow. Amazing.
In 2021. So, and then what happened was this fund approached me and they were like, can we engage? And honestly speaking, Akshay, I didn't even know what VC funding meant. I mean, then I told my dad, Daddy, these guys have approached me. I don't know what they want. So my dad was like, he's a very traditional guy. He was like, we don't need outside fund and all. If you want money, I'll take loan from the bank. We don't want any outside.
He's a banker, obviously. Yeah.
So so my dad was like, immediately he shoot them and saying, no, we don't want any money and all. We were a bootstrap company and we were 100% profitable. So he was like, we don't need money, Harini. Why do you want money? We don't need money. So, and then they were really pushing us. They wanted to somehow reach out to us and they were constantly, they were like, every time I went and I spoke to them, I felt like such a big duffer sitting in front of them because in the company, my dad was taking care of the business side, like he was taking care of the sales, logistics, operations. I was taking care of the product, procurement, purchases, design, marketing was done by me. So, but still, I was the face of the brand. So this particular VC fund always wanted to interact with me. Obviously, they like younger people and they wanted to interact with me. And when they used to ask me, Harini, what are your gross margins? What is your CM1? What is your CM2? What is your net profit? What is your GMV? What is your NRV? It used to be I still remember sitting on that call. I still remember and WhatsApping my dad and asking what is GM. I'm being honest. That's how I've built a brand. My dad used to tell me that, Harini, and that was the time, after all these conversations, after feeling a little stupid sitting in those conversations and not understanding anything, I went back to my dad and said, you know what, you need to give me a crash course on the P&L. I don't understand anything in the P&L. And if somebody asks me something, I'm standing there blinking, saying that I'm check and tell you, which I don't want to do anymore. So my dad sat down and he told me how P&L works, how everything is calculated. And, even he didn't know what CM1, CM2 and all was, but he basically was maintaining a rough P&L month on month, right? Where expenses were calculated and, everything was, the revenues were calculated. But these guys were like very pushy and finally they ended up giving us a term sheet because we were not, the more we were reluctant, how VC funds are, the more they are pushy getting the term sheet. And the term sheet came in and it was a 2 million round and it was a seed round funding and
2 million is amazing for a seed round. Yeah. For a seed round, it's amazing. What did they value you at? Like 8-10 million, right?
The valuation was 30, pre-money was 30 crores.
Okay.
No, sorry. Yeah, 30 crores, correct.
How much is that in millions? 6 million, something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a pre-money 30 crore, post-money was 38 or something like that, right? It was around 8-12 crores around that. And then what happened was we started the process, they issued the term sheet. And while I was sitting on the entire process of, this evaluation stage, their internal due diligence that they do before they issue the term sheet, I was very open and transparent in telling them that the company currently has just me and my dad in terms of running the company. And the rest of them are all, workforce, who does odds and ends. And it's still largely run by only by both of us. We don't have processes, computerized processes in place. Everything is still very kacha pakka because we're still in the stage where we're trying to evolve. And, it's been very blatantly put it out. And these guys appointed PwC to do the big business. Okay. And PwC came with the picture. The first thing he came and he asked, Harini, where's your bomb? I was like, what is a bomb? I only know bomb, B-O-M-B. What is a bomb? They're like, bill of material. Then I was like, okay, what is a bill of material? Like, don't you have accounts as to what you manufacture, how you keep track of the inventory and all of that? I said, yeah, we don't mind. We maintain all inventory, we track everything. So where is it? I took a ledger and I showed him this book has everything. What do you want to see? Tell me. Book. You maintain everything in book. Yes. So you don't have an ERP, like no ERP. We don't have an ERP at this point of time. So we spent 6 months trying to prove to PwC that, that we are doing a business in an ethical way. You know how due diligences are, right? There are no leakages. And the entire accounting at that point of time, so it was such a disaster, to be very honest. Every day, those 6 months were, the most treacherous time that I've gone through in my entire career of being an entrepreneur. I think that's the only experience I did not enjoy. Every night, I used to sit like up till 2 a.m., 1 a.m. on calls with PwC, with this VC fund, along with them on a joint call, trying to figure out why this is not happening with that, why this is happening with that, all of these calls. And around the end of 5th or 6th month, my dad, one day, it was around 2:30 in the night when I finished the call, my dad came and told me, Harini, do you really think you need this money? And what is hurting me is you're trying to prove yourself to them when you've already proved yourself so much with your friend. What are you trying to prove to them? And you don't need this money. They are profitable. Again and again, I'm telling you, you don't need this money. I think you should take a call on this. So that night, I still remember I slept with a very heavy heart because even I was giving up slowly. It's not happening. It's just not working anymore. And I was also feeling a little demotivated that, I'm not able to, when people constantly keep on questioning you after questioning you, it becomes like, how much can you prove yourself after a point, right?
Yeah, you start to doubt yourself.
Yeah, and I started to, I was in this frame of mind, let's give up. I don't want this money anymore. So the next day morning, I had wrote to them saying that I want to get on a call. And the minute I sent a mail, they also realized what was coming from my side. So they also prepared themselves and they came to the call. And it was a mutual decision that we decided on the call. And they also said, Harini, I think you really need to spend time. You've built a great business. You have good revenues. You're profitable. But we are not able to take that call today, whether you will be able to build the other processes with the, with the pattern that you have right now. And we are not able to take that call today. And I think maybe we want to wait for 6 months and reevaluate this after 6 months. And maybe in that 6 months, they gave me a list of things, this next thing you should do. I was not even listening to what he said, but I was feeling extremely demotivated, dejected, sad at that point. And the feeling of rejection was there. After this entire episode happened, after like 1 week, so I got back to normal routine. My dad was like, chalo, chhod do, 6 mahine, you wasted your time. Let's get back to work now. So we started getting back to work. After 1 week, Ashwin from this Aniket fund reached out to me and he was like, Harini, I want to meet you. I was like, bhai, chhod do. Paisa chahiye nahi. I don't want any money. I am happy the way I am. Let me grow one step at a time. I don't want to see money. He was like, no, I want to meet you. And he forced himself and he barged into the office and he said, listen, I know things didn't go well with this VC fund, but I have been tracking you from, the entire 6 months, right? And I have full conviction in you. I won't do any due diligence. And this entire, and he didn't do 1.2 million. I mean, he didn't do 2 million, but he said, I will do 1.2 million, but I will do the entire round, 1.2 million. Nobody else will come. And I'm not going to do any diligence, no due diligence. Let's start. Tomorrow, let's start. That was a little reassuring. Somebody is actually showing trust in you. And I was like, I took some time. So there were a lot of discussions happening between me and my dad as to this. Is this what we want to do? Because once we bring them in, it's like a one-way traffic. There's no looking back. It's only going forward. So we were really contemplating the thing through, and then finally, but we somewhere we had to take that risk. And business is all about taking calculated risks. Somewhere you need to take that risk to move forward. I was like, chalo, kar lete. If I'm going to get this money, the things which this VC fund told me that I did not have, I want to implement all of that. Let me just move forward. So we raised 1.2 million USD from Aniket. It was around 2021, July was the time when we closed this round. And I think from there on, I think today, 2022, this year, May, we closed our Series A funding with Nika and Aniket participating together, and we raised 8 million USD. The company was valued at 200 crores. From doing 1 crore at that point of time in 2021 to doing 5-7 crores a month today, we've grown in size and scale in terms of, how we've, tripled and doubled. And we've traditionally, sometime back, we were talking about 5x, right? Traditionally, we have grown 5x year on year, right? 18-19, we did 1.6 crore. 18-20, we did 1.6 was our revenue. 2021, we closed at a 6.7. We closed at a 38 crore, which was 5x, 5x, 5x. Year on year, we were actually, growing at 5x.
So how did you do this? Like, the 35 crore top line, you must have had to use additional tactics and approaches to grow, because at a small base, growing 5x is easier, but now you're at a big base. So how did you do that? Like, was it still purely organic, or did you also?
No. Our first round of marketing spend started, I think, in 2020 when I moved to Shopify, right? When I moved to Shopify, that time, a couple of my friends told me, they gave me some advices and they said, why don't you keep a marketing agency? You need to run ads. You need to, and actually I onboarded an agency to help us with Amazon, to be very honest, because Amazon is a very complex ecosystem. It is algorithm based and so many other things. And it's a complex ecosystem. And I wanted someone with the technical ability to help me in Amazon. And when I brought that agency in, that agency helped me to, I still remember my dad and me fighting, saying that to spend 1 lakh rupees for marketing spend. My dad was like, 1 lakh? You want to spend for marketing? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Today, the amount we're spending is like, all these are memories that we had. We've had these conversations where do we spend? My dad went to fight with the agency saying, if I do 1 lakh spend, will you give me 4x? Will you give me 5x? लिख के दे दो कि 4x लिख के देखिए 4x देंगे करके. So all these things we've gone through, and we started spending. We spent 1 lakh, and then we found out that even if we didn't make revenue, we were actually collecting, getting users to the website, right? And then month number 2, we decided, okay, let's spend 1.5, 2, 5, 10. We started, increasing our marketing spend, and our revenue also was growing, coordinating to it, right? So, and hence we had the conviction that, we are in the right direction. And interestingly for Earth Rhythm, you know, very different from many other, D2C brands that exist. Even till today, maximum amount of revenue comes from our own D2C website, not from e-commerce marketplaces, like say Amazon, Nykaa, Myntra, no, Flipkart. They are all there, but they're all, about 60% of the revenue comes from our own website, which means we have built along this journey, right? The biggest advantage that we have had is we've built the brand stronger. That, why do people go to Amazon? If I'm a consumer, I would feel safe buying a product from Amazon if I don't know the brand. Because I know if I don't like it, the returns policy is easier on Amazon, right? Whereas if I directly buy from the brand, my email bhejna hai, pata nahi kab jawab aayega, then I will forget. All these issues are there. So hence, building the brand strong from day one is extremely important. And a lot of many new brands that I see today make this very, very classic mistake. They chase after revenues in the early stage itself. So what happens is e-commerce, when you try to build, obviously Amazon and all these marketplaces will be able to give you faster revenue because you're spending more time and energy over there. Ultimately, you don't get the customer database. You don't have access to customers. So you can never retarget, or you don't even know who these customers are who are buying your product. Number 2, you are not building your brand. You're actually, people remember they bought something from Amazon, rarely they would remember the brand at all. So hence building, from biggest advantage for me, you call it as, an advantage, or you call it, that's how it organically happened for me. But people who have traveled and seen how Earth Rhythm existed, how Soapworks India transitioned into Earth Rhythm, and always, we've built that journey where consumers actually spoke word of mouth. It was more, to be very honest, Akshay, today I go to all these huge Thai global events, either over there, and I talk about, they gave me a topic recently at the Thai event, and they told me, can you please speak about minimum viable plan, right? I went to Google before the event and I took notes to speak about minimum viable plans. And I went there and I told them the truth. I spoke about minimum viable plan to the audience, but I told the audience, honestly, I have to also tell you by the end of this session that I did a Google search to talk about this today for you guys. And when I started the business, all what is mentioned in minimal viable plan happened organically, right? There was a phase where I tested the product. There was a phase where I built a prototype. There was a phase where I sampled it. There was a phase where I found the product market phase, where I brought the product into the market. All these things I did. But just that I didn't know this was only called MVP, right? There are fancy terms that are there in the startup ecosystem, which you organically do, which you don't even realize, but you know that this is the process and this is how you build a brand, right? And, these are some of the things I think which are very, very things that I think I have overcome in this journey, right? I still remember a lot of VC funds who came and asked me, are you from the IITs, IIMs? No, I'm from a simple Madras University. Obviously, investors look for a certain pedigree to, probably invest their money. And I'm not saying it's wrong. First, there are some businesses like Earth Rhythm as well, which was built on passion, which was built on, a model which was, probably built very organically, and the traction was built organically, right? And I think they've done all this in a very short span of time, right? I think from 2019 to 2022, from doing 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs a month in 2019 to doing, like I said, 5-7 crores a month today at Earth. Then we've come a long way. We've made a lot of mistakes. I'm not saying that, we've gone through a lot of things. Recently, I still remember, like a month ago, we spent like 3-4 CR, and we bought a fully automatic machinery in the factory where, there is no human touch, right? From the stage you start the production till the end process, the product is packed, sealed, and comes out. There is no human touch. So we bought a machine like that.
Where is your factory now?
When that machine, it's in Udyog Bihar.
Okay. How big is your factory?
20,000 square feet.
Amazing. Okay.
800 square feet.
And what is the production capacity? Like, how many SKUs per day do you manufacture?
So production capacity today, we can manufacture about 3,000 kgs per day. That's the capacity that we have. It can be any product, but 3,000 kgs at one go is the capacity that we have. And when the machine actually kickstarted, right? Last week was the time when everything was set up and the machine started. We did a huge puja and we got the machine kickstarted. And Dad was in tears because we come from this place where we were actually, these lassi wala hand blenders.
Yeah.
वहाँ से शुरू किया हमने. वहाँ से शुरू करके steamed and automatic machinery, kickstart. Well, it's a journey of its own, right? You just couldn't have come there. I mean, there are people who can actually get funding and simply start it, boom, like that. But for me, even today, my machinery guy, who is the electrical guy who's sitting there, अभी machine में कुछ problem आएगा, मुझे phone करता है. I go there. I tell him, ये button दबा दो, ये करो, वो करो. Because as a founder, I have done all of these things. Like I told you, I have done photography, I've done digital marketing, I've done brand marketing, I've done the supply chain, purchases. And so, when I was teaching my purchase manager how to talk to Chinese, because we buy a lot of our packaging material from China, Korea, Taiwan, I used to teach him how to, what kind of English do you speak to them? So, they understand English in a very different way. You can't speak to them with complicated words like, can you reiterate this?
Yeah.
So they don't understand. So you need to speak to them in a language because there is a language barrier.
Yeah.
Can you repeat this? Or can you, all these small changes. I used to teach my team, how do you talk to Chinese? How do you, make it easier to, speak to them? These are things that I've learned in the journey. These are not things that happened like on a suddenly, somebody taught me and I did it. I did it and I understood. I made mistakes. come there slowly, lost some money also, doing some expensive mistakes, tried to build a mobile app. It didn't work. I wasted some money there. Tried to
Mobile app for
an
like
AI tool.
for e-commerce, like so people can order
Yes,
from.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And why didn't it work?
But
Like
still,
use case is not
it is
big
getting,
enough. Okay.
no, it does getting lost, but just that, made mistakes in the sense that, we went to the wrong place at the wrong time. Spending money on wrong things is also a big problem, right? You should know how to time your growth. I wanted to build a mobile app when we were still small, which is a wrong thing. I was spending money in the wrong place when I could invest that money somewhere else, right? But these are mistakes that I did during the journey and figured out maybe I invested that money in the wrong place. I could have utilized that money to buy something else for the company rather I spent money in building mobile app. The ROI that the app could bring could be much, much lower than what if I utilized doing something else, it could have been better. So these are, you'll never learn things, unless you make mistakes. And I think fairly has, covered a lot of things. If you have specifics.
Yeah. I have a few specific questions. So what is working for you in terms of generating demand, like Instagram or influencer marketing or Google AdWords, or, what are the most effective channels for you?
I think today influencer marketing is very, very powerful because, there are two sides to this, right? One is, let's look at social media as a channel. And then let's look at, these allied channels like, say, Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads as a channel, right? Now, these social media is so powerful these days. Nobody wants to see a celebrity endorsing ki mera skin aise ho gaya. Nobody wants to see it, right? Because people believe, because gone are the days when Shah Rukh Khan stood with the Lux soap and said, "This is the soap that I like," and all the women wanted to go and buy that Lux soap, right? Today, people are driven by user generated, sorry, UGC. I'm so sorry, user generated content, right? People want to see face like the girl next door using the product the way you would use the product, and they want to see it that way, right? And even today, I have this challenge with my brand team, and I tell them that when I used to make a post back in the day, sitting at home using my mobile phone, I used to get so much high engagement than your studio shot photos that you put today. Why? Mindset is very simple. People like realistic stories, authentic. They like to see things raw. They like to see things as it is. They don't want all these jars and all that. And they know somewhere, it's getting fake in the process, right? Um, I think that is where social media is cracking the game. Being real, right?
So you
You're able
work
to
with
reach
like regular people. You don't work with like celebrity influencers.
now today, because we've grown to a size and scale, we have a combination of everything, right? But I think for a brand's journey, it has to be if a new brand is coming in and they want to leverage on getting some brand recall or getting consumers to start, seeing the brand or getting more eyeballs to the brand. I think the best and effective way is to start from barter influencers, where there are a lot of influencers who are, back in the day, if you know, there are these market research agencies which used to have these mystery shoppers. Have you heard of them? Where they used to give money to mystery shoppers, go to the shop, use the product and give feedback. Today, these kind of strategies don't exist. Mystery shopping doesn't exist. Instead, we have barter influencers, right? Who are willing to get the product from you and make a content for you out of it. It can be a how to use, can be a before after content. It can be any content. It can be an informative content when they're talking about the product. It can be anything, right, about the product. And for the for the influencer, she has access to the product. For the brand, we have access to the content. So it's a win-win situation. So you start with a barter influencer, and then you go to a micro influencer. You should start with probably you go to a nano influencer, micro influencer, and then you go to mid-sized A-list influencers, and then celebrity influencers. And there's a budget for everything, right? That's how influencer marketing works.
Mhm.
And then
So what is that segregation? Like nano influencer is what follower count?
Say about anything less than 1,000 would be nano.
Okay.
1,000 to 5,000 would be micro.
Okay.
And about 5,000 to 5,000 to say 100,000 would be A-list influencers, depending
Okay.
on the engagement rate and
Sure.
everything. Anything above 100,000 and going in millions are all
Celebrities.
celebrity
Okay.
influencers.
Got it. Yeah.
So
And
that's
I
how
saw
it
that
is.
you have like 175,000 followers on the Earth Rhythm page. How did you build that?
That I think is a function of, being the face of the brand. As a founder, being the face of the brand. That worked very well for me in the initial days, right? Even today, I feel like a celebrity sometimes when I go out, people actually recognize me. And not everywhere, not to the extent of, celebrities, but I've been in that situation where people have recognized me when I go out, right? I feel very, imagine the power that we have created, right? People are able to meet somewhere on social media and they're able to relate that she's from this brand. And that is extremely interesting. And that's how you build a brand. So people need points to connect with the brand. Yes, they need to connect with the brand. It's not just the product or visuals that they see, but they need to. One example, I'll tell you another one. So there was a time when we were in the journey, right? Somewhere around 2020, I think. So when, I used to, because we could not really invest in a lot of resources in terms of paying salaries. My son goes to a special school. And over there, one of his school principal once asked me that since you run a small company, Harini, we have adults with autism and Down syndrome who are like 25, 30 plus. We have trained them to become very, quite efficient in doing simple tasks. If there is something that you can do, I mean, why don't you just consider this? So I thought over and I got I used to pay them a small stipend of 1,000, 2,000 rupees, and they used to come like 2, 3 hours a day and they used to stick labels in my unit. Like 4, 5 adults used to come, and these were, people with spectrum, people with, Down syndrome, and, various other special abilities that exist. And they used to come down and they used to stick labels. And one such customer who bought a product for worth 500 or 600 wrote a stinker email to us saying that I've paid 500 rupees for this product. And look at the way this label is stuck. It was little data, like, it was not stuck aesthetically. It was slightly up, a little bit up and down. She sent a photo and she said, I want a full refund of this product. So I told my dad, I have a plan for this. Let's 10 customers, why this happened, right? Everybody should know it if somebody's having a concern. So what I did was, first I told my dad, give her a refund. Just no questions asked. She's not happy, just give her a refund. Then what I did, I took a video, a small clipping of my team that sits there and spends time to stick those labels. We don't have machineries. These are all hand pasted labels. So I took a small video and I made a video on Instagram saying that maybe, you did not find the value, in that 500 rupees, and you felt that, it was not aesthetically done. But the effort that went into sticking that label by that individual was way more valuable than that 500 rupees. And this was what I actually did, and I posted it. You won't believe it went viral. It went viral. People started sharing it. That lady who wrote that mail reached out to me on LinkedIn. And she was so emotional. She was like, I want your phone number, Harini. I want your phone number. I gave her my phone number. She called me and she said, I'm sorry. I said, please don't apologize. You as a consumer have the right to demand for, what you have paid. Whereas it is my duty also to tell you what am I doing, in terms of, keeping that balance between the both of us. So, and, things like these, right? I think, it's important while you're building your brand to show the realism, the real facts to consumers. Sometimes people who sit and order on the laptop only see the screen. They don't know what's behind the screen, what goes on behind it, what effort has gone in. Nobody knows all of that unless we are open about this. And that's where social media is a huge game changer, right? You can reach out to millions. Social media today can make or break brands. If they want to, the amount of, netizens who can actually pull you down also, numbers, right? So it can break a brand also. So leverage really well on social media, in terms. And the other side was, I think, way initial days, I think really helped us in terms of scaling revenues. Facebook was a very good channel because in the initial days, 2020, 2021, Facebook was not so expensive. D2C was still, it wasn't the boom, but it was not saturated at that point of time. But today, if you ask me, no, Facebook is just not profitable because the number of brands that exist, the competition that is there, it's still expensive. Facebook ads have become way more expensive today. So we need to find ways to get out of that cycle of being dependent on Facebook ads and Google ads and find newer channels to bring revenues. And that's when we also decided to go omni-channel, right? We thought, okay, let's also try to create a small offline presence. Let's probably put up a kiosk and see if we are able to generate revenue through kiosks. Today, we've set up 15 kiosks pan India in
These are
different
like
cities.
inside the multi-brand cosmetic stores.
Malls.
Inside malls?
No, inside malls.
Okay.
So then I these standalone kiosk which you can put up. So we took a small space and, we put that kiosk in about 14 to 15 kiosks we have pan India today. So brands, we have to try to reinvent.
You employ the people who are manning these kiosks. They're like completely company managed.
Okay. Company owned managed. And this is also, there's one more reason to it. We are first generation entrepreneurs, right? We don't come with an experience of business or come from a business family also who thinks like business, right? We are typical service class employees who suddenly randomly jump into the business class and try to figure out how things work. I still remember my dad telling me, Harini, business is not for us. It is not in our blood. This is what he told me. It is not in our blood.
Right.
So, all these dialogues I've heard from my dad. And today he's the one who is like so obsessed with it. With like more than me. He works like 12 hours a day. And we've learned all of that. So because we are first generation entrepreneurs, we did not want to go offline because there's a lot of credit involved in the offline market. Lot of credit involved. And business is like, we're still a growth stage brand. And for us, the credit cycles has to be really short, and we can't afford to have 60-day, 90-day credit cycle. And then there's a lot of, if you don't have the ecosystem to manage your offline network, like say an area sales manager, national sales manager, and all of that network is not there, who is going to go and do the connection? Am I going to go to each city and collect? No, right? So it's impossible. So hence the first step for us was, if we want to go offline, let's figure out a way where we are managing it. We know the inventory. We know that there is no credit involved, but still we are offline, but still we are closer to the customers. So we set up kiosks on our own. It was a part of our business plan while we were raising our Series A round of funding. We put up kiosks and we wanted to ensure that we were, going offline, at least taking baby steps, if not, going very, forcefully as, in the offline market, but just get that presence, get that feel, understand what is the nitty-gritties, what are the plus minus that are there, being in the offline space.
The offline presence also acts like a brand building exercise because people see Earth Rhythm, they get to try out the product. There's more discovery happening.
Yes.
It's probably
cheaper than it's a good brand recall. Yes.
Right. Amazing. Okay. And so today you're listed across all e-commerce platforms and your own website. Like largely the sales is through your own website. What percentage is your own website?
60%.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. And what do you expect your turnover for this year?
So don't exchange the finance magic this year.
I know the base is much bigger. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the base is much bigger. So we've been looking to touch the 100 crore mark this year.
Wow.
We're slightly backtrack, but we're at least hopeful that we'll be able to, at least do a 80 to 90 CR this year is where we're targeting.
Amazing.